I'm Nicole.
I'm Geraldine.
I'm Lauren.
And we are
Doing the Damn Thing, an entrepreneurship talk show.
Hello everyone, and welcome to our latest episode of Doing the Damn Thing. So today's episode is going to be about business networking, and I know some of you guys might get a little scared when you hear the word networking. We're not talking about you being a salesperson. We're talking about, building your brand and your business. So this is how basically we've dived into networking. So I don't know about you guys. Did you guys ever feel like a little nervous when you hear the word networking?
More like resistant.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I've always naturally been a person wanting to go to parties and things like that. I always did when I was growing up because my family is very social. And I'd always be like, oh, do I have to go? Can I stay home? So it took me a while to actually want to go networking. Now I love it. And I think part of the reason why is because I've kind of observed other people networking, and also to realize that when you're networking, you don't always have to ask the same question, which is what everybody else is asking. What do you do? It doesn't have to be just that.
Yeah. And I hate when you go in there and people just they ask you, what do you do? And you tell them, and then you can just see on their face, okay, they don't want to talk to you because they're just like, that's not going to help me at all. And it's like, dude, that's a little rude.
Yeah, you can get so much more out of people.
Yeah.
I still like to ask people what they do because I like context, and that way at least I can kind of gauge how the conversation should go. And also sometimes I've experienced where people are out networking and someone else has come up to me and asked me a question like, what makes you feel joy? And to me that just puts me more on edge. You're gonna try personal. Yeah, you're gonna ask something, I'm gonna tell you, and then you're gonna take that and use it to sales pitch me. So I think, so there's a little bit of I like to ask what they do, and then if it's not something that I'm interested in, but also sometimes it's that plus the energy of the person isn't necessarily, I don't gravitate towards that or whatever. But typically, I've definitely gotten nervous at networking events, even still I do. I don't know, it's so random how it happens. Maybe one day I'll be walking into the room like nothing, and then the next day I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so nervous. I'm standing by the food, drinking a little wine to lubricate, and but for the most part, I'm like Geraldine. I really like it now. I think it's fun, and also the benefits from networking are so great. Not just for your business,
just your communication skills.
Yeah, communication and being known in your community, and being looked at as an expert, because you never know who other people know. First of all, that's number one. But also Geraldine and I do so much networking that it's almost now made us, we're kind of famous just because we're known in so many different circles, because we'll go to those networking events that may not be directly related to what we do.
And I love that you brought that up. So I used to work in the nonprofit sector. And so a big part of my job in the nonprofit sector was building communities, bridging our nonprofit with the community. And so the community I was a big part of was tech, and that's where all my friends worked. So I just found it so odd that the people I was working with at the nonprofit sector, their careers was in education, and all they ever want to do is network with people in education, which makes sense. You're trying to build.
There's value in that, obviously.
Yeah, and then the people in tech, just in tech, but I'm you have so much in common. I would meet these people, I'm oh, they actually have same interests, and they might work in tech, but they might want to give back, and the person in education might have some interest in certain parts of that company. And I just feel once the first step of networking is to actually do it, and then I think the second step is to realize, don't just network within your comfort level, because you're not really growing. You have to network in different groups.
Yeah, you might start off that way to gain a little confidence, but then start to expand outward a little bit.
One thing that I really love to ask people when I'm networking is, so what do you like to do outside of work? Because then you get to see what really lights them up. So it's it's not too deep of a question where people are ugh. that all of us have
Yeah.
interests outside of work. And part of the reason why I like to ask that question is because then beyond the possibility of us doing business together or me referring business to you and vice versa, you can also see outside of work, will this be a person that I can actually hang out with?
Yeah.
Or do we have relevant interests? Can I ask them more questions about something I want to learn about? To me, it just makes it a deeper conversation when I ask that question.
Well, and I mean, what that does too is like, the traditional, more kind of old boy way of doing business would be like invite your clients to a baseball game or to go golfing or something. So this creates opportunity for you to invite them to something maybe not generic like that, a little more tailored, and also really networking. I mean, we refer business to people that we like, right? So when you can build a relationship, like a genuine relationship, they're more likely to refer you out and to introduce you to other people in their network. So it's like having a connection that's not just business oriented or like on the subject of what you do does provide a lot of opportunity to create meaningful connections.
So one of the things I had to learn is that networking doesn't, I don't know if you guys felt the same way, networking doesn't always mean like the big, I feel like when people think networking, like you have to go to like these big conferences and there's like hundreds of people.
Right,
That's what and then I think that's what gets people really intimidated is like, oh my goodness, I have to talk to all these people. But what I realize is networking sort of just happens as an entrepreneur, sort of like all the time.
Yeah. And if you're doing it right.
If you're doing it, so it is those big conferences, but it's also like those small meetups and like those mixers at like wine bars and stuff where it's like maybe like 30 people and it's like, that's also networking as well. So I don't know if you guys find, a couple years in your career, like, is there a certain networking group you found?
I like smaller groups. I don't really like the bigger conferences, partially because I feel like a lot of the conferences tend to be very much like similar, and then there's so many people that I find it like confusing to figure out how to drop in with them,
Yeah.
Whereas if it's a more intimate talk, you could be like, oh, what did you think about that? Like you all saw the same talk, you were in the same room together. Typically with the bigger conferences, you're like in breakout sessions and different things, and it's kind of a frenzy, and it just feels like everyone's just like overwhelmed, right? So I think part of that is knowing also your personality style. I am very outgoing, but I tend to want to be like medium to smaller size groups. I don't like big crowds of people.
I guess I can agree. For me, I'm always looking for a particular vibe. So
Yeah.
maybe it's gonna smaller being maybe like 10 to 40 people, but if it has to be a particular vibe of group. Like we go to Watermark Networking.
That's where we met.
Yeah.
And what I like about them is, it's going to be really casual, maybe not casual like the way that people dress, but people are just very down to earth and they genuinely want to know about you and then your business second. So I really like that because you're building more of a relationship. And there's other groups that are kind of tailored, like the format's going to be, you're going to do open mingling and then everybody's going to introduce themselves and then there's going to be mingling again. Having that expectation of what that's going to be like versus other ones I've been to that might be 40 people, but it's like everybody's just like shoving their business card toward each other. And that, sometimes if I feel that progressive or I feel like that way that particular day, like I just want to exchange business cards, but otherwise I'm probably going to go to the networking events that I feel like there's going to be more connection between people.
Similar. I feel like the older I get, the smaller my networking groups get. I'm also at a different point in my career, so I want to have a more target audience and like a little bit more tailored. I know we were talking before filming that when I started networking right after undergrad, I was part of American Marketing Association, and it's always like these big group meetings, and I felt like I was doing that, and I was doing Hispanic Foundation, Silicon Valley, these really bigger organizations where I felt like I was just casting a wider net, but that was just because I was really trying to like just start my career. And now that I'm getting older, it's like I don't need to cast such a wide net.
Well, there's benefit in going to things like that as far as association when you're trying to learn your career too, because those are all people that are in marketing, right? Or for the most part. So you're going to have relevant material, and I think that's kind of almost, it is definitely networking, and you can connect with other people in your industry and like create partnerships and, refer each other business. If it's not, if we get a client that doesn't fit what we are doing, we might like pass them along to you or whatever. And that's super valuable. Those are more like career building and like helpful for you to learn some things and best practices. Whereas you're most likely not going to directly meet people that would be your clients. But then also moving into more like just putting yourself out there, letting more people can't know you're in business if you're not out there talking about yourself. And I think that's the thing that Geraldine and I realized is that we have now reached the point after being in business for, well, total me Geraldine for 10 years, but us as partners for 6 years, that now we're going to like networking events and they're like, oh, I've heard of you, or, you know, oh, my friend told me about you, because we have cast our net so wide that now that's like, and then when people hear your name in multiple places, that's when you start to feel like seem famous. Yeah. Really. So there's, fancy. Yeah, it is fancy. Darling. Yeah. Yeah. And also I think if you're afraid of networking, I think BNI is a really great organization. I will be completely straightforward and say that actually for the first few years of our business, I was not into BNI. I didn't like the format. It felt like very kind of restrictive because every meeting you meet once a week. The idea is that you join you join a chapter, and in that chapter you can only have one person from each profession in there. So like, let's say there could be multiple lawyers, but one has to be like a business lawyer, one has to be a real estate lawyer. They can't be doing the same type of law because you meet every week, and then everybody has the same format. Every meeting, any place you go all over the world has the same format. You know, you give your 30-second commercial, people say thank you for referred business, you eat a little something, and then at the end, you know, and it's like an hour-and-a-half meeting. And the benefit of that is you get practice at saying your 30-second commercial, which also helps you in networking when you're out there in a less structured environment. The idea is you're building relationships, so it's like a safer feelings place for you because you know all the people in the audience. So if you're someone that might have a little fear around speaking in general, this could really help that. And then the idea is you're building relationships, and these people are going to refer you business. So you're all actively working to refer each other business. So I think that it offers a lot of opportunity to get comfortable with the idea of networking.
Yeah. And it is, and I like that you were really honest about that, because it's like these organizations are great, but then it does take a while for you to find your vibe and your groove within that organization. But it sounds like it's pretty like structured, and it's meant for like,
and definitely there's every chapter has its own personality. So and what the great thing is, you can visit a bunch of them, get used to it, and like fill out the vibe. But also as you're doing that, that's also networking and marketing, because you know you are still meeting these people in a pretty intimate environment, and you can follow up with them and like. You know, and that's really the key to all networking is follow up.
Yes. And one of the things I've been really, really trying hard to do, because I have like stacks of business cards, right?
So many.
And I don't like it. I think it's a waste of paper sometimes. But I make sure if the ones that I really wanted to follow up with, I do follow up. I send them an email. Then I throw away the business card, because their email then is saved into my email, so I don't have to have their business card. But just following up right away, and then following up with like a specific
intention,
in mind, and then putting that ask or attention in the email, not like sort of skating around it, you know, because then it's.
You mean like, do you want to meet up, or can I pitch my product to you?
You know, what exactly do you want this partnership to look like? And so I try to be as clear, but not like in a rude way, but clear about it.
You're like, look, we're not going to talk about this. We're talking about this.
Yeah, because like, listen, I don't know about you guys, but like I've had people follow up with me, and then I'm like, sure, let's meet up for coffee. But then I go to like 10 minutes before our coffee day, I'm like, what the F are we talking about? Like, what am I signing up for? And then it's just, there's been some times where it's sort of like a pitch for like a life coach, or trying to sell me a life coach, and then a part of me is like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that feels, and that's actually really important to be authentic with your stuff, because don't trick people. People don't like to be tricked. If you want to pitch them, that's fine. Just tell them you're going to pitch them.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Then you have a choice to or not, you know? Yeah.
So final tips for networking?
I think that, again, we've mentioned this before in our partnerships and collaboration episode about the DISC assessment and knowing your personality type and knowing how to read other people's personality type. The way that we do it is specifically tailored towards networking within. For Meet Geraldine, that's the way we frame it. And that helps a lot because it's the different personality types. If you go out networking, like you were saying, there's some people that just shove their business card. That's also a personality type. That's a go-getter. They want to get in, they want to get out. They want as many business cards as they can. It's like a competition.
It's like a game,
yeah. And then there's the people, like I notice when Geraldine and I go out networking, I'll talk to a lot of people, probably have like, some of them are pretty meaningful, but Geraldine will spend a long time with people, and she's a nurturer. So that's like her personality type is like sit and talk for a long time and like, you know, so but if you can kind of read people, you know how to interact with them and how to already approach the situation. So it just helps to give you another tool to feel more confident in what you're doing when you're networking.
My advice would be, if you're scared about networking, to start going with other people. So find other entrepreneurs or people within your circle that go out to groups already that they like. Ask them why they like it and how it is, like what to expect when you go to those types of places, and then just go and see. And there might be, when it's a trial and error process, so there might be times where you don't like the place that you went to, but it doesn't mean you're not going to like the next place you go to.
That's like the wingman theory too, because then you could be each other's wingman. Like I could just say, oh yeah, Nicole, and this is Nicole, and she's great at online marketing, and like then she doesn't have to say it. So that's also helpful to like play off of
I
each
think
other.
that's another thing too. When you're in the car together on the way to the event, get clear about what you want the other person to say about you and what you're going to say about them. Because there's nothing worse than being on the spot and you're like,
who's this person? What are they really good?
like, and you're like extra listening to when they're saying to what they do to someone else, and you're like, oh, that's what they do. You know, you don't want to like.
Or that's
get
how
to
they
know.
say it.
Right.
Yeah.
Set that up in advance.
Yeah, and I love that because like, and it's a little scary. It's good to do like go with someone, especially maybe go with someone that has like a slightly different personality, so you can play off each other. My tip is just everyone always just takes business cards, right? You want to go prepared, so make sure you do take a business cards in a pen, just in case. And the pen is to write notes when someone gives you their business card. When they're not looking, write a note on their business card to remind you of really who they were, because sometimes like you forget. Like for myself, I write a note of like maybe what they were wearing and the topic we were talking about, so it triggers my memory. That way when I am following up, I'm like, okay, this person. 2 is some networking events now that, because I focus a lot in media, it doesn't really require business cards. It's just all about Instagram. So being okay with people just following your Instagram right away and having it open. You have to be prepared of how people are going to follow you. So usually it's going to be following you on Instagram, maybe LinkedIn. I love the fact that people sometimes want to just share LinkedIn profiles. It makes it a lot easier. I guess I just don't want paper all the time.
I have such a I'm so torn with the business cards because I don't like paper either. I think it's like really annoying to have extra. But I think maybe the brand person in me loves the business cards because you got, a well done business card should give you like the vibe of them. And I just like, it kind of annoys me when people tell me they don't have a business card. Actually, I'm like, oh, like I don't know what to do with that, even though I have like so many piles of business cards that I've never followed up with. So it's weird.
Yeah, it's funny because when people are like, I've seen people with, and I want to do this, it was popular for like a second, the QR codes, like you scan it and then it goes into like
we
their
tried
business
that,
card.
not for business cards, but for other things. But then at least you have a digital.
Yeah, and I thought, oh, that's really convenient, but then you're just, it doesn't
QR
always
codes
work.
didn't work for us. I mean, for the United States.
Yeah, it depends. Like if you go to other countries, I think there's certain parts of Canada where that's like really popular.
I think the Netherlands, they have like whole cities that are run by QR codes.
Yeah. So again, it was like popular for like a second here. And then, another side tip. You never know, like at least if you're going to a networking event that's like cocktail hour, like after work or something, is there is going to be snacks there, but like, you don't want to be the person that is so hungry because you worked all day that, like, you're just at the food table. Like, so when
I'm kind of that person.
yeah,
Totally.
because I remember, like, when I was working in nonprofit sector, I worked with, like, a lot of educators, right? And they weren't really used to networking, and so then they were also really nervous. So part of me, I always tell them, like, have, like, at least a granola bar in your car, just to, like, and this is coming from someone that, like, never eats, but if I'm going to a networking event, you know there's going to be, like, maybe wine and beer there, and you're probably going to gravitate towards getting a drink because it makes you feel, like, a little bit more looser if you're, like, nervous. So, like, have something to eat so you're not, like, trying to talk to people with, like, a plate full of all this stuff and you're just stuck.
I totally take advantage of all the food.
That's her. That's what gets her into some networking.
Like, when the networking event has good food, I'm so happy.
You're like, this is a great
Yeah, sure. Watermark has great food.
Here's the thing. You have to be strategic about what you're eating.
Yes.
You don't want to have something that's really messy or like a sandwich that you're like, finger
Or like
foods.
those meatballs that have like a lot of sauce in them. If they're dry, that's fine. But like also you have marinara sauce.
But then
Truthing
but at the same time, like sometimes you can be with those other people who are all on the food table and you can be talking about the food, and that's
It's like
when you
smoking
become
cigarettes,
friends.
but it's eating food and
Yeah,
stuff.
so I'm just saying, like, you can eat. Just like be strategic.
She already said she doesn't eat, so
Be strategic about what it is you're choosing to eat while you're at the networking event.
Yeah.
Or like get there early so you can be like one of
so
the
you get
first
the-
people eating.
Yeah, I like
And then
to
you
eat
can-
first, and then you can talk. Because then it's like,
Because I don't like. I guess it's like. Yes, it's okay to eat there, but I guess I don't want people to go there starving.
Yeah,
and then
don't do
they
that.
can't
No.
they can't focus on networking. They're just so hungry.
Yeah.
Like we see that.
Also, too, food or drinks is a really great way to get out of conversation.
totally,
You're like, oh.
You're like, oh man, I didn't eat anything today. I'm actually gonna go grab something.
Yeah. But
Good
like
meeting you.
someone's talking, you're just like, I'm gonna stuff my mouth with some cheese and crackers right now, so I don't have to respond.
But then if you're like eating and having to listen to them, that's not that.
see, that's not
I
networking's not all glamorous.
I know all the strategies about eating and networking.
Yeah. That's gonna be our next video. How to eat at a networking
Eat
event.
working.
Yeah.
Eat
Yeah,
working.
Okay, so that's it for now, I guess, guys. You guys know the drill. Subscribe, so hit the little red button. You're gonna ring that bell, and then you're going to like. Oh my god, that's the song that goes into my head too. When I hear ring the my 8-year-old niece knows that song, and I'm like, where'd you hear that song?
In the 70s, don't
Yeah.
That's life.
I was super excited that this weekend. So I introduced her to the Doors, so I felt like I
The
won
cool
brownie
auntie.
points as an aunt. She is my little performer. Anyways, so yeah, subscribe, ring the bell, like, and then comment below. And we'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye. See ya.